So there you have the top of the Fed, Jerome Powell, who was the head of the Fed for many years now, and Lael Brainard, who's going to be his vice chair. She's got a very important position now in the Federal Reserve. She did before, but now it's even more so. Of course, a lot of people suspected she may have been the pick for the chair of the Fed, but the president deciding to keep things the way they were. And as you can see from the bottom right of your screen, the markets are kind of glad he did. Let's bring back Luke Lloyd and Michelle Schneider to talk a little bit more about this. I just have to say something in the form of a correction of what the president said. He said years of wages falling behind, referring to the administrations before his. In point of fact, the median real household income increased by 6.8% in the last year, 2019, before the pandemic kicked in. That was a $4,400 increase in 2019. That made the median real household income of $68,000 a year one of the highest ever. So in fact, things were doing quite well before the pandemic. A lot of people would argue because of the tax cuts under Donald Trump and because of the regulatory cuts, et cetera. And one must have to mention that, yes, wages have been going up, but inflation has been cutting the legs off of those increases, inflation being higher than the wage increase itself. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, certainly no one should be surprised at any president touting their accomplishments, even if they distort some of the facts once in a while. Yeah. So, right. But, you know, I have to say, just listening to both of the speeches, all three of the speeches, actually, somewhat of a cockeyed optimist here, in that if you do have some diversion where people can come to the table together as the only Democrat, then it is possible that we could have not only Powell, who has been, as I said before, a very cool mind, but we could have some ideas of some of the things that have actually hurt workers, as we know, in the country. Besides the statistics that you just cited, we know that inflation is hurting. So it's possible that there could be a good balance. We hope. As I said, I'm going to be an optimist here.
All right. But, well, Luke, let me just get Luke in. Luke, we did have Dr. Brainard come out and say that inflation was one of her top priorities, that cutting inflation was one of her top priorities. Do you suspect that she will get serious about that with regard to rates?
I think she'll get serious with it because Powell's the chair. I think that's just the fact of the matter. I think Biden also is tuning his horn a little bit way too much. He's taking way too much credit for what's currently happening. He says the administration of small business. You know, that's not what I see. You know, why are we trying to raise taxes on small business then, right? And why are they struggling to hire workers? I think he's the administration of free money. I mean, look at all the unemployment benefits that they've given out, and they've caused a lot of the issues that are currently happening. He also said America's bigger than it was before COVID. Well, we did print trillions of dollars, and that's what happens when we do that, and we have to pay for that down the road via taxes that he wants to raise. He said wages are up since last year as well. That's correct. But if you adjust it for inflation, it's only the upper earners that are actually making more discretionary income. So you said the word median. Yeah, if you take a look at the median, you might have 2% or so more discretionary income. But the lower class and the middle class are still hurting. I think one of the only positives that have come out of this administration so far is the reappointment of Jay Powell. That just currently happened.
Well, Michelle, you do have the problem. The president was touting his success in small businesses, the creation of small businesses. He didn't mention how many went out of business as a result of the pandemic, and a lot of those are just coming back. But a lot of those small businesses are getting killed by the 11 million unfilled jobs. It's so difficult for a bigger business has more capital to be able to increase wages. A small business doesn't have that kind of leverage. And that 11 million unfilled jobs figure is really cutting into their ability to hire the workers that they need.
Absolutely. But, I don't like to get so much into the blame game because there have been so many factors that have been out of anybody's control. And small businesses have been suffering for quite some time, even during the last administration, because of automation, because of people. The trend to work from home isn't something that just started; it just accelerated during the pandemic. And the pandemic itself, that created now people with the stimulus, and now people not wanting to go back to work. And in the hospitality industry, automation is something that's been coming in as well. And not to mention these big corporations that have taken over a lot of small businesses. Just look at the booksellers. I mean, local booksellers really got killed because of companies like Amazon. So it's very complicated when you're looking at all these situations and you say this person is to blame or this policy is to blame. Right. To me, the bigger picture, if you step back, is look what's going on in the market. There were a lot of doomsayers out there about what was going to happen in the stock market. Meanwhile, we continue to rocket to new highs. And even though there's a bit of distortion, and I'm not even talking about the economic disparity of wealth, but just in terms of retail investors, they have increased. So you got to look at the whole picture, and then you got to make good choices for yourself in terms of investments.
Anybody betting against the market, by the way, in the last administration or this one. I remember Paul Krugman on the night that Donald Trump was elected in 2016 saying the market's going to crash and it's never going to recover. So people have been wrong on both ends of that bet. Guys, great to see you both. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Appreciate it. More Coast to Coast straight ahead. We'll be right back.